What's the subject today, darling?
Today we're talking about the silhouette, and we're comparing people who are large. You can use any type of adjective you like. Rotund, stout,
big guys.
big. And we're talking about guys who are slim, skinny, really trying to even put on weight. And what they can do or maybe not do to enhance their silhouette.
But we are speaking here about immediate result, right? Visually.
Right, and hopefully even people who are somewhere in the middle can get some good ideas about what they might do, just to play around, experiment with.
So let's start with the big guys, people who wants to appear a little bit slimmer. Each time we're going to speak about things that they should do, things that they shouldn't do, and things that we can discuss because there are different opinions on the subject. Let's start with what they should not do when you're a big guy.
I'm so sorry to say this because it's so easy to go to a ready-to-wear place, buy something, walk out with it, and you feel so pleased because you bought something new. But for the guys that are bigger, we're going to suggest they do made-to-measure or bespoke and just have a transformative experience when they're actually measured according to their body. And I think that's the first thing that a bigger guy should try.
Agree.
And don't wait to lose weight if you've been big for years.
Yes.
And go ahead and try to be elegant now.
I agree with you. Well, because ready to wear it's calculated on some kind of average bodies, and it never takes into consideration your idiosyncrasies.
Oh, wow, you can say that. That's my problem word. Keep going.
Yeah, this is a word. Okay,
it's
we
a
have a bet.
joke.
Sometime with Sonya, we say, I bet I'm going to be able to use idiosyncrasy in this show. So I did it.
And I'm like the George Bush person. I create words. It's so sorry.
So anyway, ready to wear is based on morphology that are medium, and they most of the time they're not very suitable for people who are big. So you're right. But the good news is that nowadays, I don't know if it's the same in the US. I know it's developing quite fast also in the United States of America and abroad, but in Europe now it's almost more easier to find made-to-measure salon.
There's so many made-to-measure places,
than
and
a ready-to-wear store.
Definitely not a sponsor, but we talked about Enzo Custom in the U.S. You tried it made-to-measure for the first time.
Very good people.
There's an easy place to go and give made-to-measure a try, and there's plenty of other places as well.
Yeah. So I agree. Go made to measure, or of course, if you have the means and the wallet and the culture and the will to really improve big time your silhouette, then you can go bespoke, of course, which is the royal path for your silhouette.
True.
What is the next item?
Okay, well, a very easy thing to do is to avoid big checks and big patterns on your fabric. So easy to do, because if you create some kind of busyness going on with different patterns, it's just going to expand your entire look in your body. So keeping it nicely elegant, simple, avoiding those crazy patterns is going to tone everything down and make you more streamlined.
Exactly. This is what Alan Flusser, because once again, we cannot advise you enough to read Dressing the Man by Alan Flusser. Flusser explains that when you are a little bit stout, it means that you are a little bit too horizontal. You have to stretch your silhouette. So you have to work on the vertical line.
Yes.
And if you use too big patterns like window panes or like very large stripes, you accentuate this impression of stoutness, you say? Stoutness?
Yes.
So that's the explanation.
That's right.
You were speaking also, darling, about the posture, which is very important.
Yes, you know what? We all can sit up a little straighter, right? Okay, but if you're an overweight guy, do this simple thing. Just turn your hands outward. Try it, Hugo. Turn your hands outward.
Yeah.
You automatically stand up straight. You can't even slouch if you turn your hands outward. I learned this back when going to a spa was popular. You know, the women all went to a spa for a week to get away. Well, they don't do that much anymore. But I went to a spa, and the doctor there told me, always turn your hands out. And do a few times a day to remind yourself of how to stand. So I want to pass that along to the bigger guys.
But that's right, that it modifies your posture immediately.
Totally. It's so easy.
And that's something that is, it doesn't require too much effort to do that, and you can immediately improve your silhouette. Let's speak about belts. Of course, when you have, avoid by all means wearing a belt. The worst thing that you can see on a man in terms of elegance is a man wearing a belt under a big belly. This is a catastrophe.
I know. It sort of brings your eye to the belly, doesn't it?
Yes, I mean, it's just, it doesn't work. Literally. And so if you lose your pant and if you can't wear without, we're going to have another solution
I think they already know what it is.
Yeah. Suspenders are much more interesting for you than belts.
Yes.
And
all bigger guys are going to love suspenders or braces because, first of all, if they bend over, if they don't have their jacket on, they're not going to have plumber's crack, which is important. Okay. Also, right. They're going to flatten out the whole silhouette, and it's going to flow better. It's so simple, and it feels secure. Your pant, your trousers are in place. It's a nice, secure feeling. I know some guys who wear suspenders underneath their waistcoats.
Wow. That's a good idea, actually.
Hidden. They don't. No one knows.
Okay. If you're a big guy, if you're wearing a belt, why don't you stop? I'm not joking. It can really change something.
Yeah, and you know what? So what if they're clip-on? You know what? It's just because these days the clip-ons are really higher level. The metals mechanisms are very nice compared to the old days when they put tacky things like that. Or get the button sewn into your trousers so you can use the button in braces or suspenders.
Let's speak about the shoulders.
Okay.
Because today, for example, if you are on YouTube, I'm wearing a Sartoria dal Cuore typical Neapolitan shoulder, which is a sloppy shoulder with some shearing. Okay, I must admit, if you look at this episode, these are I like very large lapels, and this is maybe the largest. I went a little bit crazy with those ones, but I like this suit.
It's very elegant, actually.
Yes.
And so your shoulder it's a knockdown shoulder, but it also has some gathers, so it's strictly Neapolitan, and it's actually quite lovely on a larger gentleman.
So my question is that, what about the shoulder for larger gentlemen? Would you advise sloppy shoulders like that every time? Or there's a discussion around that.
Most of all, we'll deconstruct those shoulders. You don't need padding there unless your morphology happens to be that you have very little shoulders naturally by birth. Like if you're rounded here, your shoulders almost knocked down, of course you're going to have to put a little padding there to build them up. But if you have a regular morphology, I wouldn't pad the shoulders anymore. It's only going to make you look larger.
So as a summary, if you're a little bit overweight, if you're a big guy, soften your shoulders. Now, what are the solutions for these people? What is a yes? And you always say to me, who is the big guy best friend in terms of
the best
clothing?
Friend of the big guy is the waistcoat or the vest.
Explain why.
Because I'm wearing a waistcoat just for this episode, right?
Yes.
And sometimes I'm big, sometimes I'm not so big. But you know what the waistcoat does? It pulls in the silhouette.
Yeah.
It gives some definition. It actually makes you feel very secure. And it's a lovely visual point for any larger guy. And I think if larger guys try the waistcoat, they'll probably be hooked. But make sure the waistcoat has a little bit more length. So the last thing you want to happen is the belly to come out from underneath the waistcoat. So it's going to pull everything in, lengthen it out, and make a nice silhouette.
Remember that. And that's maybe if you take away one thing from this episode, if you are a stout guy, waistcoat is your best friend. One of the guys who was the most famous for mastering the art of wearing waistcoat was Mr. Winston Churchill.
Yes.
He was not a thin guy, to say the least, and he was wearing magnificent waistcoats almost all the time.
Incredible.
Almost all the time.
Yes.
Let's speak about colors a little bit. I think that we talked about this many times. I think plain or solid colors are the one.
You said colors or colors?
That's my problem always.
I
never know if you understand what I said. The color, red, blue,
the color,
blah.
right?
How do you spell color and colors? What's the difference?
It's just you know how to spell it, but color,
yeah,
or collar.
Colors, it's the colors. Okay, so what about collars?
Collars?
No.
Colors. It's okay. You can practice later. So colors can be toned down, solids, or maybe your pinstripe too, if you're talking about patterns. And just nothing crazy. Just stay with a nice, solid colors, grays, blues. Okay, even browns. Brown's underrated. Go for a brown suit.
I agree with you. There's nothing. This is if you are a little bit too stout, you should really go. You should mute everything and really go solid colors or thin stripe like pinstripes or shark stripe.
Right.
And then we already spoke about high-waisted trousers. And the last item I have on my list is about high-level neckwear. And this is your idea, and I love that because it makes a real difference. Explain what you have in mind.
Because we have two examples. We have Winston Churchill, and we have the other example that you found of, it's Zach Miko.
Zach Miko, is a model.
Yes,
is a stouter model, and this guy is extremely elegant because he's just following a few rules, and he's very elegant.
Yes, and I have a few other examples, but one thing that I've noticed with people who are bigger, who look ultra elegant, is they really invest in their neckties. I mean, they have the best of the best, 7-fold, silk, beautiful materials, beautiful patterns, very curated neckties. But one thing, it brings the eye up.
Exactly.
And it also upgrades your overall outfit because you look like a quality type person.
Exactly. And I think this is a general rule. If you are a little bit stout, if you want to improve your silhouette, don't hesitate to go for the quality. Don't
go on the cheap. Let's go. Let's invest
by
in the
less,
neckwear.
but by better and high-level necktie is a must for a stouter guy. So what about hats? Is it good or bad for them?
I think they have to try them. For example, you are not a bigger guy, but you have a big head.
I have a big head for sure.
You can't wear hats. They look strange on you. So I think that the bigger guy has to try the hat. If he can pull it off, it's an excellent idea because it draws the eye upwards.
Exactly. And also pleats on trousers. And that's a real debate. If you're a stouter guy, if you're a big guy, do you have to use single pleat, double pleat, or no pleat on trousers? It depends.
Well, if you're wearing suspenders underneath your waistcoat, you can pretty much do what you want. You don't want to look like you have a flat paneled, strange protrusion coming out in that area. But you know what? It's something that you have to try and decide on your own. Most bigger guys tell me they like the pleats just because they're more comfortable.
Now, let's go to the other side of the spectrum and speak about skinny people.
Yeah, and how many times have we had skinny people, younger guys, older guys, write and say, I can't find my size. It's so frustrating. What do I do? And there are, only certain people that even make the sizes available for the smaller guys. So they struggle.
Oh, yeah.
But there's some things that
we have friends. So I don't know if the sizing is different in America and in Europe, but for example, me, I have a normal size. I dress bespoke most of the time, but my size is between 50 when I'm fitted and 52 when I'm a little bit less fitted, which is kind of the medium spectrum.
Yes.
But we have friends who are 46 in
tiny,
jacket or even 44, and it's becoming extremely problematic for them. Maybe same thing, made to measure can be a solution for these people. If you are skinny, please avoid these skinny lapels on your suit. You see this everywhere these days.
It's very 1990s.
But I don't know why this is happening.
I don't know. I think that if you're really skinny, you think that you have to have a skinny lapel. But you're saying do the opposite and balance a little bit and go for more formidable lapel.
You don't have to go as far as I do. You can see my lapels are particularly big today
so
because I want.
It's beautiful. But it's going to add bulk. It's going to add width. It's going to add interest.
Yes.
And it's a good idea. It's a good idea.
If you live in the USA, take a look at Christopher Corey, ckc.com. He's ready to wear and his custom suiting are featuring real lapels. And if you are skinny, you can be interested. It's a very good example and inspiration. And same thing for the shirt colors. It's bizarre to have all this, you call them stubby colors?
That's my favorite one for the really skinny guy. To buy those tiny little stubby colors.
It's bizarre.
Okay, this this makes you look super skinny. This is not even possible. You have to get a beautiful, look at the Neapolitan style of the shirt collars. Get a shirt collar that is really formidable, not huge, but something that at least lengthens out to fall beneath either your waistcoat or your jacket. So make sure the collar's long enough to go under your jacket. It's going to change so much because people look at your face first. That's what they see. And if you have a stubby collar, it's going to ruin the whole effect of the silhouette. So notice the shirt collar that works best for you. Do not ignore this.
I've seen some very skinny guy wearing these horrible skinny lapels and very small stubby collars on their shirt. They literally disappear. You don't see them anymore. It's almost shocking. And it's so easy. It's just a matter of proportion. If you are skinny, you have to work on the horizontal line. So you have to give more matter and more substance to your body on the horizontal line. The next one was your idea, darling. I like the way you express this. I didn't know it was existing. You say no drain pipe trousers. What is a drain pipe trouser?
You know, I know a little bit about plumbing because I used to work on boiler systems in hospitals. And so anyway, you think of a pipe, you guys out there who understand, plumbing, you think of a pipe, there's no form to it. It's just skinny and straight. And I think I borrowed drain pipe legs from someone. But do you know what a granddaddy long leg insect is?
You mean the spider?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The little spider with the really long legs.
Yes.
So when I see really skinny guys with the drain pipe trousers, it reminds me of a granddaddy long leg.
Oh, yeah.
So what do? You get trousers that have more substance, bigger legs, which gives kind of an old Hollywood feel. It's very suave. It looks great. And skinny guys don't understand that they can wear the bigger legs and look really elegant.
Yeah, and pleats.
The wider legs, I should
say.
And
pleats on their trousers in this case.
Yes, you can put pleats or flat fronts. You can do anything. You can add cuffs on the bottom of the legs to widen out the legs a little bit.
Yeah.
You can really play.
So the idea is to add some substance.
Add substance.
Because when we say about drain pipe, the image I have in mind is the punk movement in the UK in the 1970s. They have these very skinny guys with very skinny legs and they're Doc Martens. It's a movement.
And if you wear drain pipe legs and you have big feet, you look like you're wearing snow skis for shoes. So it's crazy.
The next item on our list, because today, for once, we have a list, ladies and gentlemen.
That's unusual,
we improvise
right?
a lot, but we have a list. And the next one I like because this is the way my beautiful wife is expressing herself. She said, no superhero fit.
Right. Well, I mean, that's self-explanatory, right? I mean, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, they have really tight outfits, right?
To say the least. Yeah.
Okay, some skinny guys, they wear outfits that tight, and they literally look like if they put a cape on, they'd be a superhero.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, don't go that far.
No, it's just good sense. And you added, and we didn't speak about shoes for the moment.
We
and
didn't.
Then long point shoes.
Yeah, if you're a really skinny guy and you wear pointy shoes, you might look like a Santa elf. I mean, the elves, they were little guys and they had the long shoes that came up.
Yes.
You may want to round the toes on the shoes just to provide some offset from the long, narrow silhouette you have, just to give some balance.
That's a very good advice. So now let's try to find the best friends of the skinny guy. And I will take the first two because I love both of them, is double-breasted.
Yes.
So, double-breasted, it's common sense. You add a layer of fabric in front of the visual aspect of your torso. But with the reserve is that it has to be well cut. And that's only problem with DB, double-breasted.
That's right.
The cut has to be impeccable. Otherwise, it can be very quickly a catastrophe.
It has to be cut right. But the double-breasted suit's nice because it adds bulk, it adds texture, it adds some movement, it's adding interest. And this is what, if you're really thin, you need to do with your clothes.
You can do, and that's actually, this is one of the biggest advantage to be skinny, is that you can go double-breasted, 6 on 1, 6 on 2, in all kind of double-breasted. And then the second thing that is your best friend is the 3-piece suit. As we were saying, give 3-piece a chance if you are skinny. Just go into a menswear store, wherever you are, try on just a normal single-breasted jacket and then try a three-piece.
Yes, see what happens.
And look at what happened in the mirror. You will see a major difference.
You had bulk. You had interest with all the buttons.
Exactly.
You can get a lapel that's how do you say? I'm having word finding. You have different lapels on the waistcoat.
Yes.
Right. You can have no lapel or lapel, so you can play with
or
that.
You can have big lapels. You can have not lapel. You can have no lapel.
Like a jacket. You can do so much with a waistcoat.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
You can wear the jacket or not wear the jacket. So many options.
Three-piece for skinny guys is a fantastic,
it's a great idea.
Specifically if you use it with really textured fabric.
Yes.
Like, for example, Harris tweed, this thick tweed, with bold patterns. When you're skinny, you can do that. It will really give some substance to your silhouette.
Yes, and there's blends like wool silk blends and cotton
for the summer.
Blends. So when you wear blended fabrics, you're going to get some interesting texture, and texture is what creates the thought of bulk.
So you can do multi-layering. You can add layers, but don't go too far. Yes. Also, this is always something I wanted to say is that yes, when you are skinny, you can basically wear anything you want as long as you add some substance to your silhouette. Right. And you can do different layers, you can have a cardigan under, you can have whatever you want, anything that will improve your horizontal line. But don't go too far, because sometimes you can disappear.
You don't want to look busy.
Exactly.
Right?
Or even disappear under 3 or 4 layers of clothing. So just be reasonable all the time. It's important. But you can really go for bold patterns and textured fabric. In terms of lapels, I think it's better to go a little bit wider.
Yes,
course.
And don't forget, you can also use a flower or a lapel pen to create that width at the top of the body, which is also something that may help.
What we call lapel jewelry in general.
That's
right. That is to say, and also pocket square can be interesting for you.
That's a good idea too. Yes.
To attract the attention.
That's right.
There's a little discussion about the odd waistcoat. Some people say it's good for skinny people. Some other people say it may be dangerous. What's your opinion,
So
Sonya?
let's define the odd waistcoat.
Yes.
There are 2 types of waistcoat in terms of patterns. There's the ditto waistcoat, and that simply means that your waistcoat matches precisely your jacket and your trousers. So everything's the same fabric.
Yes.
An odd waistcoat is something that you can do to change things up by using a completely different fabric for your waistcoat. So it would be like me having this blue waistcoat and wearing a tan suit with a tan jacket and tan trousers. The waistcoat would be called an odd waistcoat because it's made of different color, different fabric. Okay. So if you are tall, go for the odd waistcoat because it adds interest, again, bulk, and it just is something else to add to the silhouette. But if you are a shorter gentleman, then keep the same color. Wear the ditto waistcoat. So the silhouette's protected and gives you the illusion of height.
Okay, so you make the difference between you can be skinny and depending of your height, basically.
Yes. Normally we don't drop in clues or any type of clickbait for any other article, but we do have an article specifically for shorter guys.
Yes.
And that's easy to find on For Easy Gentleman.
Yes.
Don't forget, we talked about the 2 men. Do you remember the 2 examples of men that are very elegant, that are the bigger guys?
The 2 men that were bigger guys, it was Zach Miko and Winston Churchill. And the skinny guys.
Yes, please.
There's one that we particularly like. It's the person in this famous series Boardwalk Empire, and his name is Steve Buscemi, I don't know how to pronounce it, which is kind of a skinny person.
Very skinny and hyper elegant.
Really elegant. Specifically,
modern day guy.
Specifically in this series where he's wearing 3-piece suits with very high colors and beautifully.
He's depicting an earlier point in time, but this is what classic style is. This old Hollywood type, gangster type. That is still classic style, and we love to borrow.
And it's incredible for a skinny guy like him.
Fantastic.
And of course, one of my personal heroes of all time, which is in my opinion, one of the most elegant men that ever exists is Fred Astaire.
You love Fred Astaire.
I adore Fred Astaire, first of all, because this guy was from another planet. You know, this guy was not dancing, he was flying, literally. He had this science of dressing well. He was not that short, because sometimes we say he was short. He was 5'7",
yes.
1.75 m, not that short, but he was skinny, of course. He was in very good shape.
Yes, and he was dancing a lot, so he had high armholes, which is important not only for skinny guys, but also for big guys.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah,
those
absolutely.
high armholes are something people, or small armhole, because if it's a small armhole, guess what? It's going to be high by nature.
Well, high armholes or small armhole, I think it's universal.
It is. Don't get the armholes so small that it's cutting into your skin, but small enough to give you a range of movement without your entire jacket moving up.
But Fred Astaire is for me, and even at the end of his life, he knew how to play with, when he was not dancing anymore, he knew how to play, how to dress. That's one of my style. We speak about style icons. It's probably the guy I prefer. With Cooper also, but Cooper was a handsome guy immediately, but Fred Astaire is one of my heroes. So I hope that was useful. Thank you, darling, for all these advices. Once again, we never talked directly to Mr. Flusser, so we don't even know each other. We know G. Bruce Boyer quite well. Yes. We know Bernard Rutzel. We know a few people. It's a small community.
Maybe next time we're in New York, we say hello.
Yes, but he wrote this book 20 years ago, even a little bit more, and it's still very relevant because it gives you all the things you need to know. And this is where most of the things we've been debating during this show were taken from his book. Not everything, because we like to add our own salt and our own experience, but it's a book which is important for every gentleman to have. And by the way, darling, I believe that most of the things that we debated today are also relevant for women.
Absolutely, and that's what we're trying to do, is think about that. Think about, because the women audience on YouTube is really growing.
Enormous.
So, of course, we're going to try to, each time we do an episode, keep women in mind as well, and we're going to do better in the future.
We receive a lot of requests from women, but we receive a lot of requests also from gentlemen. Say, my wife, she's becoming passionate about what you do together, and there's no channel. So we can't promise when, but we're going to do something.
So can I tell you another one of my secrets?
Yes.
If you influence your wife or your girlfriend or that person that's important in your life to get into the classic style realm, and they love it, this means they're going to support you when you want to buy more suits. And this is what I've heard. Some guys actually buy suits in secret, which
is actually cool. So we're going to try to do something maybe in the coming weeks to do a show specifically for women and try to develop this, because there's very few people speaking about that subject. Sonya is one of the most important voices. And now we start to have some good references. We eventually managed to, guess what? Sometimes we had to convince. I have in mind a shoemaker in Spain, in Mallorca. They didn't believe us that there was a huge market for quality shoes, real shoes, leather shoes for women, and we had the same problem also for tailoring for women.
I can count the emails and messages that I've gotten. You know, some women, especially in business setting, or if they're hanging out with guys, they don't want to be stumbling behind with high heel shoes and a dress sometimes. Sometimes you need to keep up with the guys, be classy, be sporty, and know what you're doing.
That's what we're going to do soon. We can promise we're going to do it soon?
Yes.
Let's promise it. Thank you, everybody, and we give you an appointment for this new episode of Total Talk. Thank you, darling. It was a pleasure once again. And be safe. And cheers. See you soon, everybody.
Thanks again.